There's $14 billion worth of Bitcoin options expiring this Friday that could send Bitcoin to $75,000. And if you're not paying attention to this, you're about to miss one of the biggest market moves of the year. Welcome back to the channel where we break down the crypto moves that actually matter. I am your host, and today we're diving deep into what might be the most important options expiry of 2024. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why Friday's expiry is pointing to $75,000, what it means for your portfolio, and most importantly, how to position yourself before this massive move happens. Let's get into it. So here's what's happening. This Friday, December 8th, at 8 a.m. UTC, over $14 billion worth of Bitcoin options are expiring on Deribit. Now, if you don't know what that means, stick with me because this is about to get really interesting. When options expire, it creates what we call a gravitational pull towards specific price levels. And right now, the data is screaming that $75,000 is the primary target. But before we dive into the numbers, let me explain why this matters so much more than your typical options expiry. First, the sheer size. $14 billion is massive, even for Bitcoin. To put this in perspective, that's more than the entire market cap of most cryptocurrencies. When this much money is on the line, market makers have to hedge their positions, and that creates real price movement. Second, the timing. We're in a critical moment for Bitcoin. We've just broken through previous resistance levels, institutional adoption is accelerating, and now we have this massive options expiry acting like a magnet. The stars are aligning in a way we haven't seen in months. Now, let us talk about what the options chain is telling us. The largest concentration of open interest is sitting right at the $75,000 strike price. We're seeing over $2 billion in call options at this level alone. But here's where it gets really interesting. The put-call ratio is showing us something fascinating. For every put option betting against Bitcoin, we're seeing nearly 3 call options betting it goes higher. That's bullish sentiment on steroids. And when you combine this with the gamma positioning, it creates what traders call a feedback loop. As Bitcoin moves higher towards 75,000, market makers have to buy more Bitcoin to hedge their short call positions. That buying pressure pushes the price higher, which forces more buying, and the cycle continues. If you're finding this valuable, smash that like button, it helps more people see this. Now, let us dive deeper into the technical side because this is where the magic happens. The gamma exposure at $75,000 is absolutely massive. Gamma measures how much the delta of an option changes when the underlying price moves. In simple terms, it tells us where the price is most likely to get pulled. And right now, there's a gamma wall at 75,000 that's acting like a massive magnet. But here's what most people are missing. The max pain level, which is where options sellers make the most money, is sitting at $72,000. This means that in a normal market, we'd expect Bitcoin to drift towards 72,000 by Friday. But this isn't a normal market. The institutional flows we're seeing are overwhelming the max pain dynamic. BlackRock's ETF alone has been buying over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin per week. MicroStrategy just announced another massive purchase. And now we have this options expiry creating additional buying pressure. It's like having 3 massive forces all pushing in the same direction. The result? That $75,000 target isn't just possible, it's starting to look inevitable. But let us talk about what could go wrong, because no trade is ever guaranteed. The biggest risk is a macro shock. If we get unexpected economic data or geopolitical news, it could override the technical setup. We've seen it happen before where even the strongest gamma squeezes get derailed by external events. The second risk is profit taking. Bitcoin has already run up significantly, and some holders might decide to take profits before the expiry. If we see heavy selling pressure, it could overwhelm the gamma dynamics. But here's why I am still bullish on this setup. The on-chain data is supporting the options positioning. We're seeing long-term holders continuing to accumulate. Exchange balances are at multi-year lows. And the funding rates in perpetual futures are actually still reasonable, which means we're not in a euphoric bubble yet. Fun fact, 80% of you watching aren't subscribed yet. If you want to stay ahead of the market, fix that now. So what does this all mean for the broader crypto market? If Bitcoin hits 75,000 this week, it's going to send shockwaves through the entire space. Historically, when Bitcoin makes major moves around options expiries, it tends to follow through for several days afterward. We could be looking at the start of the final leg up to six figures. Think about it. If we're already talking about 75,000, and the momentum continues, 100,000 starts looking not just possible, but probable before the end of the year. And it's not just Bitcoin that would benefit. When Bitcoin breaks major resistance levels like this, it typically pulls the entire crypto market higher. We're talking about potential massive moves in Ethereum, Solana, and the rest of the altcoin market. This could be the week that changes everything. But you need to understand the timeline. Options expiry doesn't mean the move happens on Friday. In fact, most of the action usually happens in the days leading up to expiry as traders position themselves. We're already seeing some of this positioning happening. Bitcoin has been grinding higher all week, and the volume profile suggests institutional accumulation. The smart money is already making their moves. So what should you do with this information? First, understand that this is a high probability setup, not a guarantee. The options data is pointing strongly towards 75,000, but markets can always surprise us. If you're already holding Bitcoin, this expiry gives you a strong reason to hold through Friday and potentially beyond. The risk-reward is heavily skewed to the upside. If you're looking to add to your position, consider dollar cost averaging into any weakness. Don't try to time the perfect entry, because when this move happens, it could happen fast. And if you're trading options yourself, be extremely careful. The gamma dynamics that create these opportunities also create massive volatility. Unless you really know what you're doing, it's better to stick with spot Bitcoin. Here's the key insight most people miss. Options expiries like this don't just create short-term trading opportunities. They often mark major inflection points in longer-term trends. If Bitcoin breaks through 75,000 this week with conviction, it's likely setting up the next major leg higher. We could be talking about a move to 100,000 or even higher over the next few months. The institutional demand is real, the supply dynamics are favorable, and now we have this massive options expiry acting as a catalyst. But remember, this is crypto. Volatility is the price we pay for these incredible opportunities. Make sure you're managing your risk appropriately and never invest more than you can afford to lose. As we head into Friday, watch for these key levels. If Bitcoin can hold above 72,000, the max pain level, it's a strong sign that the gamma dynamics are working. If we break above 74,000, the path to 75,000 becomes much clearer. And if we actually hit 75,000? That's when things get really interesting. The next major resistance doesn't show up until $80,000, which means we could see an explosive move higher. Here's my bottom line. This $14 billion options expiry is setting up what could be one of the most significant Bitcoin moves of the year. The data is pointing to $75,000, the institutional flows support it, and the technical setup is nearly perfect. This is the kind of setup that creates life-changing wealth for those who pay attention and position themselves correctly. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Drop your prediction in the comments. I read every single one. Do you think we hit 75,000 by Friday? And subscribe if you want to be early on the next market move. The next few days could be absolutely massive for Bitcoin, and you don't want to miss what happens next. Speaking of what happens next, you need to check out this video where I break down exactly what happens when Bitcoin hits $100,000. It's going to blow your mind. But before you go, let me leave you with this thought. We're witnessing history in the making. The largest options expiry of the year, institutional adoption at all-time highs, and Bitcoin sitting at the doorstep of new all-time highs. This is what generational wealth opportunities look like. The question is, will you be ready when it happens? I'll see you in the next video, and remember, fortune favors the bold. Until then, stay safe out there.